I'm Noob,
I'm Solo.
and this is our review of Quintessence The Blighted Venom.
Quintessence The Blighted Venom was the debut title by Freebird Games. It was directed, composed, illustrated, and coded by Con Gao. Fully designed in RPG Maker XP and released as a freeware game in a series of chapters, the first of which was released in 2006. Development continued, releasing a few chapters a year up until about 2009. This was the year that Chapter 11 of the original Plan 14 was released. Sadly, this was the final release up till today, here in 2021. But even though this game is yet to be completed, we still wanted to share our thoughts and opinions on this Freebird Games classic.
Remember that this is an RPG Maker game made by one man and a few people helping him out. It's pretty incredible what they were able to accomplish with the little they had to work with. The maps are beautifully crafted, and you can tell a lot of attention was given to every detail of all the locations in the game. Even the title cards during stage transitions are drawn well, and the cutscenes actually look better than some of the stuff I've seen in some AAA studios in the 16-bit era. This game is visually stunning from the opening to the ending credits and really shows what a team of talented people can do, even with limited resources.
Music is something that we both truly believe adds the soul to a game, especially one that is very narratively focused. We wouldn't be exaggerating when we say this game is worth playing for the soundtrack alone. The music is so good you could literally stay in one location just to enjoy the music for a long period of time. Including Gao, there were multiple composers that contributed some amazing pieces to this game's soundtrack. All of this combined gives the game a unique feel with music that holds up even for casual listening. Sound effects are limited again, using a mix of built-in assets and original work. Also, side note, there's exactly one character in this entire game who has voice acting, and we call him Whiskers the Cat.
Now let us talk about the gameplay. This is an area where Quintessence does struggle a bit. Getting the positives out of the way first, the game has some unique puzzles that will make you think outside the box. It definitely does not rely on an age-old trope in RPGs of pushing boxes around. And while I feel the transforming mechanic could be improved, it was still a pretty cool idea, and we had a lot of fun playing with the different animal forms as well as the puzzles where you had to change into different people. But with all those positive aspects to the gameplay out of the way, let's talk about some things that do hold back the gameplay from truly being great. Some of the objectives in the game felt like they should be optional side quests, but end up being mandatory to progression. In particular, the sometimes lackluster minigames. I mean, it's bad enough that a game like this would include a water level at all, but was it really necessary to look for all those stupid crawfish shells while trying to dodge more crap than you would see in some bullet hell games? But by far, the worst thing about this game is that absolutely abysmal battle system. I grew some gray hairs in some of these fights. The battles were a chore, and what makes it worse is that battles are basically pointless. It doesn't seem to matter how much you battle or how high a level you are. You always feel just strong enough to barely scrape by.
This without a doubt is the strongest part of the game. Freebird is known for their stories in their games, and you can see the roots are planted here for all their future work. All the main characters are well developed and the world is genuinely unique and interesting. Even though there are plot points that you can see coming, they still have an impact when they actually happen. But the incredible story is something that kind of irritates me about this game, mainly because it's incomplete. There are actually only 11 chapters of the original Plan 14 that are out. So you're going to find yourself fully immersed and ready to see what's going to happen next, but then you're going to have to wait for the next big plot point that will never come. And with all that said, once you reach the end, you'll be left with several questions unanswered.
Alright, with the rest of the review out of the way, let's get into final thoughts. Uh, Personally, I had my issues with the game. I thought, there was like some things that could be improved on with the battle system, and some of the puzzles did get irritating. But overall, I really enjoyed this game, and I think it's a game that, like, people who are fans of RPGs probably would just enjoy just for the story and the world and the setting, characters alone. So, Solo, what were your thoughts?
Okay, so my final thoughts on Quintessence is that it's a very, very interesting game that has a good story, but since it's incomplete, it kind of cheapens the experience a little bit. And it also is a very shitty RPG in a lot of ways, which is why I'm very grateful that Freebird Games dropped trying to actually make real RPGs and just took the story element of the whole games and just ran with that. And I think that's what works for them, and I think it makes quality games. I'm glad they've given up trying to do battle systems, and yeah, I look forward to trying out their other games and reviewing those as well.
Sweet. So overall, though, would you recommend or not recommend? Personally, I think even with the issues this game has, I would still give this game a recommend for anybody who's like a casual gamer or just a fan of RPGs.
Yeah, I know I was harsh there with what I said, but I'm just being realistic. This game definitely has a lot of flaws in it, but I mean, the major one being that it wasn't finished. But even with that said, I still think it's worth playing, and hopefully that we'll see Kongao do a remaster or at least finish the game eventually.